the dark forest is real, then broadcasting our location to the stars isn't brave. It's suicidal. And we've been doing it for almost 100 years. Every radio show, every television broadcast, every military radar ping since the 1930s has been leaking off our planet at the speed of light, forming an expanding bubble of noise that's now roughly 90 light-years wide. On top of that, in 1974, scientists deliberately aimed a powerful radio message at a star cluster called M13, packed with information about our DNA, our solar system, our population. It was called the Arecibo message, and it was sent on purpose as a proud demonstration of human technology.
Before we dive into today's investigation, I want to be clear. The stories and theories shared on this channel are part of an alternative history exploration. We're digging into the unexplained, the unsettling, and the what-ifs of our world. Think of this as a journey into the dark side of history, part research, part legend. Watch with an open mind, but remember, this is for narrative and entertainment purposes only.
I found a signal that wasn't supposed to exist. 72 seconds long. Then it was gone. And 49 years later, nobody has ever heard it again. On August 15, 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio called Big Ear was pointed at the stars, just listening the way it did every single night. It was running on autopilot. No human was even watching the data in real time. 3 days later, an astronomer named Jerry Emin was flipping through the paper printout, line after line of numbers, mostly noise. And then he saw it. A spike. 6EQJ5. A string of numbers so strong, so far outside the normal range, that he grabbed a red pen and circled it right there on the page. Next to it, he wrote one word. Wow! That's it. That's the whole story behind the name. A tired scientist, a red pen, and a gut reaction he couldn't hide. The signal came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, right around a spot with no bright star, no planet, nothing that should have been broadcasting anything. It sat exactly on the frequency of hydrogen, 1420 megahertz, the one frequency scientists always said an intelligent species would use to say hello, because hydrogen is the most common element in the entire universe. Every telescope on Earth has searched that same patch of sky since. Nothing. Not a whisper. Whatever said hello to us that night said it once, and never again. And that silence, that's where this whole nightmare begins. Here's something that should scare you. Out of every possible address in the Milky Way, we got one of the best seats in the house, and it might be the reason nobody's talking to us. Earth sits inside what scientists call the galactic habitable zone, a thin, calm ring around the center of the galaxy, far enough from the crowded, radiation-soaked core to survive, close enough to actually have the heavy elements needed for rocky planets and DNA. On top of that, our solar system orbits the galaxy at almost the exact same speed the galaxy's spiral arms rotate. That means we spend most of our time drifting between arms, away from the crushing traffic jams of exploding stars and gamma-ray bursts that would sterilize a planet in seconds. In plain words, we got the calm suburb of the universe, while most of the galaxy is a war zone. Sounds lucky. It's not, because a calm, protected, perfectly placed planet is exactly what a smart predator would look for if it wanted a snack that survived long enough to grow up. We can see almost the entire disk of the Milky Way from here, clear skies, wide view, nothing blocking us. But that same open view works both ways. If something out there is scanning the galaxy for life, our little blue isn't hidden behind cosmic dust or crammed into a chaotic star cluster. We're sitting in the open, in a spot built for good visibility, hoping nothing with better eyes ever looks back. In 1977, right after the WOW signal was picked up, we did something almost insane. We sent our own signal back into deep space, riding on 2 golden records, bolted to the sides of Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. Sounds of Earth, a baby crying, whale songs, Beethoven, greetings in 55 languages, instructions in symbols showing exactly where our sun is, exactly how to find us. Both spacecraft have already left the solar system. Voyager 1 is now more than 15 billion miles from home, the farthest man-made object in existence, and it's still transmitting, still alive, running on a power source that's slowly dying. Here's the part nobody tells you at parties. Those records won't reach another star system for roughly 40,000 years. And if anything intercepts them before that, it means something out there is already moving through our neighborhood, watching two tiny metal ships drift by. Some researchers have quietly admitted they regret the whole idea, because that golden record isn't just a greeting card. It's a map with a red pin dropped on our exact location, launched by a species that had no idea who might be reading it. We didn't whisper into the void. We handed out our home address, wrapped in gold, and set it adrift, hoping only the friendly ones would ever open it. In 1950, physicist Enrico Fermi was having lunch with a few colleagues, casually chatting about aliens and flying saucers, when he stopped, looked around the table, and asked one simple question: "Where is everybody?" That question broke math. Here's why. The universe is over 13 billion years old. Our sun is a relatively young star. There are hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy alone, and most of them are older than ours by millions, even billions of years. If even one intelligent civilization had appeared early and started spreading, building ships, colonizing planets, even slowly at a fraction of the speed of light, it could have swept across the entire Milky Way in a few million years. That sounds like forever to us. To the galaxy, it's a blink. So if the math says the galaxy should be loud, packed with life, echoing with radio chatter and alien engineering, why is it dead silent? Why haven't we found one confirmed signal, one confirmed structure, one confirmed anything? This isn't a fun trivia question anymore. Scientists call it the Fermi Paradox, and it's one of the most unsettling open problems in modern science, because every answer leads somewhere darker. Maybe life is rare. Maybe it's common, but something kills it before it gets loud. Maybe they're already here and choosing not to speak. The silence isn't proof that we're alone. The silence is the crime scene, and we haven't found the body yet. In 1964, a Soviet astronomer named Nikolai Kardashev built a scale to measure how advanced a civilization really is, not by how smart they talk, but by how much energy they can control. A Type 1 civilization uses all the energy available on its home planet. A Type 2 captures the entire output of its home star, potentially by building a massive shell or swarm of panels around it, something called a Dyson sphere. A Type 3 controls the energy of an entire galaxy. For reference, humans right now sit at around Type 0.7. We're not even fully Type 1 yet. Here's where it gets creepy. If Type 2 and Type 3 civilizations are even possible, they should be almost impossible to hide. A star wrapped in an energy-harvesting shell would give off a very specific kind of leftover heat, an infrared signature that our telescopes are fully capable of spotting. Scientists have actually run searches, scanning tens of thousands of galaxies for these exact heat signatures. The results came back almost completely empty. Either massive, energy-devouring civilizations never evolve in the first place, or something stops them cold before they ever get that big, before they ever get loud enough to be seen from light years away. Every rung on that ladder we haven't found anyone standing on is another silent floor in a building that should be full. Here's a way to think about the universe that will genuinely mess with your head. Imagine a dark forest at night. You're a hunter alone, and you know there are other hunters out there somewhere in the trees. You can't see them. They can't see you. The moment you light a fire to keep warm, or shout to see if anyone answers, you've just told every other hunter in that forest exactly where you're standing. In that forest, the safest thing any hunter can do is stay completely silent and assume everyone else is a threat, because you never know if the thing that hears you is friendly, starving, or simply killing anything that reveals its position before it grows strong enough to fight back. This idea, sometimes called the dark forest theory, has become one of the most talked about explanations for why the galaxy is so quiet. It suggests civilizations aren't silent because they're rare. They're silent because talking is a death sentence. Any species advanced enough to detect life across the stars is also advanced enough to erase it, and the safest strategy in a universe like that is to never be noticed at all. If this theory is even partly true, it means the entire galaxy isn't empty. It's full, packed with civilizations hiding in plain sight, all of them terrified of the same thing, and all of them staying quiet for the exact same reason we should be. Because somewhere out there, a hunter might already be listening for the first mistake we make. If the dark forest is real, then broadcasting our location to the stars isn't brave. It's suicidal. And we've been doing it for almost 100 years. Every radio show, every television broadcast, every military radar ping since the 1930s has been leaking off our planet at the speed of light, forming an expanding bubble of noise that's now roughly 90 light-years wide. On top of that, in 1974, scientists deliberately aimed a powerful radio message at a star cluster called M13, packed with information about our DNA, our solar system, our population. It was called the Arecibo message, and it was sent on purpose as a proud demonstration of human technology. Some of the world's most respected scientists have publicly begged us to stop doing this. Physicist Stephen Hawking warned that reaching out to an advanced alien civilization could go about as well as it went when Christopher Columbus reached the shores of the Americas, and we all remember how that ended for the people who were already living there. The logic is brutally simple. If an alien civilization is thousands of years ahead of us technologically, the gap between us wouldn't be like two human countries meeting. It would be like an ant colony trying to negotiate with a construction crew. They wouldn't need to be evil to end us. Indifference alone would be enough. And yet, groups keep sending these signals anyway, arguing that if predators are already listening, we're already caught, so we might as well try to make friends. It's a bet with the entire species as the wager, and nobody asked us if we wanted in. Every civilization that has ever existed, or will ever exist, has to pass through a series of deadly checkpoints just to survive long enough to reach the stars. Economist Robin Hanson gave this idea a name, the Great Filter. Think of it as an obstacle course with invisible walls. Somewhere along the road from simple chemistry to single-cell life to complex life to intelligence to technology to interstellar travel, there's at least one step that is almost impossible to survive. The terrifying question scientists still can't answer is simple. Is that filter behind us? Or is it still ahead? If the hardest step was something we already survived, like the jump from simple bacteria to complex cells, then we got lucky, and the galaxy really might just be empty because that jump almost never happens. That would actually be good news. But if the filter is still ahead of us, waiting somewhere between where we are now and where advanced civilizations would be, then it means every species eventually hits the same wall and dies right around our current level of technology or slightly past it. Nuclear war, runaway artificial intelligence, climate collapse, engineered pandemics. We are, right now, walking directly toward every single one of those doors, and we have absolutely no way of knowing which ones are locked. The silence of the galaxy isn't comforting. It might be a warning label nobody bothered to translate, sitting right in front of a species too busy building the very things that could kill it. When you look up at a star, you're trusting that the light you're seeing is exactly what it appears to be, a burning ball of gas, doing exactly what physics says it should. But in 2015, astronomers using the Kepler Space Telescope found a star that broke every rule. It's officially named KIC 8462852, but most people call it Tabby's star, after the astronomer who first flagged it. Normally, when a planet passes in front of a star, the light dims by a tiny, predictable, repeating amount, like a small dot crossing a light bulb. Tabby's star dimmed by up to 22%, in irregular, unpredictable patterns, completely unlike anything a planet could cause. For a brief, electrifying moment, some scientists floated a genuinely wild idea. What if the dimming wasn't dust or debris, but something built? What if it was a Dyson sphere under construction, a massive structure engineered by an advanced civilization to harvest the star's energy, and we were watching its unfinished shell block out the light as it rotated. Later research pointed toward a more boring explanation, mostly clouds of dust orbiting the star. But here's the part that stays with you. For that star, and for a small handful of others like it, scientists genuinely could not immediately rule out an artificial structure. When you see a star flickering strangely in the night sky now, you can't fully unknow that somewhere out there, a shadow crossing starlight might not always be nothing. It might, one day, be someone's unfinished roof. There are things theorized to exist in deep space that don't behave like stars, planets, or normal matter at all, and the scariest part is that some of them might already be sleeping close enough to notice us eventually. Roughly 85% of all the mass in the universe is something we call dark matter, and after nearly a century of searching, we still don't actually know what it is. We only know it's there because of its gravity, bending light, holding galaxies together, moving through the cosmos in massive, invisible structures we can't directly see, touch, or photograph. Writers and scientists alike have compared it to something out of cosmic horror fiction, an unseen presence vast beyond comprehension, existing right alongside us, indifferent to whether we notice it or not, the same way old myths once imagined ancient, sleeping gods too enormous and too alien for the human mind to fully process. That comparison isn't just poetic. Some theoretical physicists have seriously proposed that dark matter could be made of exotic particles capable of clumping into massive, invisible objects, essentially dark stars, or even dark galaxies, existing in a parallel structure we can barely detect. If something like that were ever capable of interacting with ordinary matter in ways we haven't discovered yet, we wouldn't see it coming because by definition, it's built out of everything our instruments are blind to. The myth gave that fear a name and a face first. The science just proved the fear was never irrational to begin with. Since 1998, a mysterious object has kept showing up on US military and amateur radar, tracked in a strange polar orbit around Earth, and it earned a nickname straight out of a conspiracy thriller, the Black Knight satellite. According to the myth that spread across the internet for decades, this object has been orbiting our planet for roughly 13,000 years, meaning it existed before recorded human history, possibly built by an alien civilization to quietly observe us since before the pyramids were even a plan on a piece of papyrus. Believers point to old radio anomalies from the 1930s, grainy NASA photographs, and strange radar returns as proof that something ancient and artificial has been circling above our heads the entire time we've existed. The real explanation, confirmed by multiple space agencies and independent researchers, is far less exciting but almost as unsettling in its own way. The object photographed by astronauts is a thermal blanket, accidentally lost during a 1998 spacewalk, tumbling and reflecting light in a way that looked artificial and ancient from a distance. Other sightings were misidentified space debris, decades of orbital garbage drifting in different patterns. But here's the uncomfortable truth buried underneath the myth. We have so much junk orbiting this planet right now, dead satellites, lost tools, shattered rocket stages, that we genuinely cannot always tell at first glance what's ours, what's natural, and what we haven't identified yet. The legend was fake. The confusion that created it was completely real. In 1976, NASA's Viking 1 orbiter was quietly photographing the surface of Mars when it captured an image of a hill in a region called Cydonia that looked, unmistakably, like a giant human face staring straight up into space. NASA released the photo almost as a joke in a press release, joking about tricks of light and shadow. Nobody was laughing for long. The image spread everywhere, sparking decades of theories that it was proof of an ancient, advanced civilization that once lived on Mars, built massive monuments, and vanished or was wiped out, leaving behind ruins frozen under red dust. Believers connected it to other strange shapes nearby, ridges that looked like pyramids, patterns that looked like collapsed city grids, evidence, they argued, of a war fought on another planet long before humans existed on this one. Then, in the late 1990s and early 2000s, better cameras on newer spacecraft with dramatically higher resolution photographed the exact same hill in sharp detail. The face was gone. In its place was an ordinary, eroded mesa, a chunk of rock shaped by wind and time, no different from countless other formations scattered across the Martian landscape. Our own brains had built a face where there wasn't one, a glitch called pareidolia, the same reason you see faces in clouds and toast. But even scientists who fully accept the debunking admit something uncomfortable. Mars really was wetter, warmer, and more Earth-like billions of years ago. We didn't find a monument. We just haven't finished checking if we missed the ruins. Somewhere out in deep space, something keeps screaming into the void, and we still don't fully know what it is. They're called fast radio bursts, or FRBs, and they are almost impossibly violent, blasting out more energy in 1 millisecond than our sun produces in an entire day, then vanishing just as fast. The first one was discovered in 2007, hidden in old telescope data, and since then, thousands more have been detected, most from galaxies billions of light-years away. Most fast radio bursts happen once and are never heard from again, exactly like a distress signal from something that only got to scream one time. But a small number of them repeat on strange, sometimes rhythmic schedules, coming from the same exact point in space, over and over, like something out there refuses to stop trying to be heard. The leading scientific explanation points to magnetars, dead, collapsed stars with magnetic fields so powerful they could strip the data off a credit card from the distance of the moon, cracking and flaring as their crusts violently shift. That explanation is solid. It's also incomplete, because it doesn't explain every single burst we've recorded. When these signals were first discovered, before scientists understood the pattern, they briefly considered a genuinely unsettling possibility, that a repeating burst on a fixed schedule looked less like a natural explosion and more like a beacon, a lighthouse switching on and off in the dark. We eventually found a boring, physical cause for most of them. We haven't found one for all of them, and the ones we can't explain keep repeating anyway. On October 19, 2017, a telescope in Hawaii spotted something that had never been seen before, an object from outside our entire solar system, passing through on a one-way trip, never to return. They named it Oumuamua, a Hawaiian word roughly meaning scout or messenger arriving first from far away. Almost immediately, everything about it broke the rules. It was extremely elongated, shaped like a cigar or a flattened pancake, tumbling end over end, reflecting light in a way no natural comet or asteroid typically does. It showed no visible tail, no cloud of gas or dust, the usual signature of a comet warming up near the sun. And most disturbing of all, as it left our solar system, it accelerated slightly, speeding up in a way that couldn't be fully explained by gravity alone. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb made global headlines when he seriously proposed that Oumuamua could be artificial, possibly a piece of alien technology, maybe even a solar sail, a discarded piece of equipment drifting silently through interstellar space long after whoever built it was gone. Most astronomers pushed back hard, suggesting it was likely a natural object venting invisible gases like hydrogen, explaining the strange acceleration without needing aliens at all. We'll likely never know for certain, because Oumuamua is already gone, hurtling back into deep space, completely unreachable, and it passed by so fast that we barely got a good look before it vanished forever. It didn't stop to say hello. It didn't slow down at all. Whatever it actually was, it looked exactly like a coffin, drifting quietly past our porch on its way to somewhere else. In November 1969, the crew of Apollo 12 did something strange on their way home. They deliberately crashed the ascent stage of their lunar module into the surface of the moon and left seismometers behind to measure the impact. What happened next unsettled even the scientists watching the readout. Instead of a short, sharp thud that faded quickly, like you'd expect from solid rock, the moon rang. It kept vibrating for close to an hour, a long, slow, reverberating hum, the way a bell rings after being struck, not the way a rock behaves when you drop something on it. NASA's own chief scientist at the time was reportedly stunned by the readings. Almost immediately, rumors spread that the moon might actually be hollow, or at least far less solid than a natural planetary body should be, a discovery some claimed NASA quietly buried because it hinted at something artificial about our closest neighbor. In the decades since, seismology has moved forward dramatically, and scientists now understand the moon's strange ringing was caused by its extremely dry, uniformly rigid interior, which lacks the water and fractured layers that dampen vibrations quickly on Earth. It's not hollow. It's just built differently than our planet, in a way that lets sound waves travel further before fading out. But the story never really died, because in an age of grainy footage and vague official statements, we don't fully understand it yet, and there's something being hidden sound almost identical from far enough away, and the truth took decades to finally catch up to the fear. Here's a fact most people never think about until it's laid out for them plainly. The universe isn't just going to end someday. It's already dying slowly right now, and it's called heat death. Every star that has ever burned is spending energy it can never fully get back. According to the laws of thermodynamics, entropy or disorder only ever increases over time in a closed system, and the universe, as far as we know, is the ultimate closed system. Trillions of years from now, long after every star has burned through its fuel and gone dark, long after the last black holes have slowly evaporated through a process called Hawking radiation, the universe will reach a state of maximum entropy. No stars, no heat, no light, no energy differences anywhere to power motion, chemistry, or thought. Just a cold, flat, featureless expanse, stretched out into complete and permanent stillness. Temperatures will drop to a fraction above absolute zero, and matter itself will slowly break apart at the subatomic level. There will be no observers left to witness it, no clocks left to measure it, just silence, forever, with nothing left to end because everything worth ending will already be gone. Right now, in this exact moment, we exist in what cosmologists sometimes call the stelliferous era. The brief, bright window when stars actually burn and life is even possible. That window is a blink compared to the darkness on either side of it. We are, quite literally, living inside the short, warm flicker before an almost eternal graveyard begins. If the universe really is a graveyard, here's the question that should genuinely keep you up at night. What if we're not early? What if we're late? The math behind the Fermi Paradox usually assumes intelligent life should be common, given how old and vast the universe is. But flip the assumption around. What if intelligent technological life is astronomically rare, and by pure cosmic bad luck or pure cosmic timing, humanity happens to be one of the very first civilizations to ever reach this level of technology anywhere in the observable universe? Some scientists take this idea seriously, calculating that Earth-like planets could theoretically keep forming for trillions of years into the future, meaning the vast majority of potential life in the universe's entire lifespan hasn't even been born yet. Under that theory, the silence isn't evidence of extinction or predators. It's evidence that we showed up impossibly early to a party that hasn't really started. Other researchers argue the opposite, and honestly, the darker version. What if we're not early? What if almost every other civilization that ever existed already rose, and already fell, wiped out by war, disease, artificial intelligence, or their own success, long before we ever evolved enough to look up and wonder about them? In that version, we're not standing in an empty room before the guests arrive. We're standing in an empty room after the funeral, walking through the wreckage of everyone who came before us, mistaking their ashes for the natural backdrop of the sky, never realizing we're the very last ones left standing in the dark. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom published an argument that quietly terrified a huge number of scientists and tech billionaires, and it's only gotten more disturbing with time. His idea, known as the simulation hypothesis, argues that if any civilization anywhere ever becomes advanced enough to run detailed computer simulations of entire conscious universes, and if they run even a small number of those simulations, then statistically simulated realities would vastly outnumber the one original, real universe. Which means the odds that we happen to be living in the one original reality, out of potentially billions of simulated copies, become almost mathematically negligible. Some of the most respected minds in technology have publicly said they believe this is more likely true than not. And here's where it connects directly to everything else in this story. If we are living inside a simulation, the Fermi Paradox stops being a mystery about biology and starts being a question about code. Maybe the galaxy looks empty because the simulation was never designed to render other intelligent life in full detail, the same way a video game doesn't fully load a city block you can't see yet. Maybe strange cosmic anomalies, glitches in deep space telescopes, unexplained radiation patterns, are the digital equivalent of a texture failing to load properly. And maybe, most disturbingly of all, the heat death of the universe isn't a natural, physical inevitability at all. It's simply the moment someone, somewhere outside our reality entirely, finally decides to shut the program down. In 1981, astronomer Robert Kirshner and his team were mapping the locations of distant galaxies when they stumbled onto something that shouldn't have been possible. A massive region of space, roughly 700 million light-years across, containing almost nothing. No galaxies, no stars, no visible matter of any real significance. They named it the Boötes Void, after the constellation it appears in, though astronomers privately started calling it something far more unsettling: the Great Nothing. To put the scale in perspective, if our entire Milky Way galaxy were sitting inside that void, and every other galaxy around us had simply vanished, we wouldn't have discovered the existence of other galaxies until the 1960s, because there would have been nothing else close enough to see with early telescopes. Later, more detailed surveys found that the void isn't perfectly empty. It contains around 60 galaxies where scientists initially expected thousands, but that's barely a rounding error compared to normal space. The leading scientific explanation is that it's simply an extreme extension of the cosmic web, a natural gap in the enormous, thread-like structure connecting galaxy clusters across the universe, an area where gravity simply never pulled enough matter together to form more stars. That explanation is accepted by the scientific community, and it's almost certainly correct. But it doesn't erase the eerie feeling of staring at a scientifically confirmed region of the sky, hundreds of millions of light-years wide, and realizing that whatever should have been there simply isn't, and nobody can promise you with total certainty that emptiness is the only thing that could ever explain a hole that size. Let's connect two things scientists rarely say out loud in the same sentence: the Great Filter and the Boötes Void. If some unknown, catastrophic force really does wipe out advanced civilizations before they can spread across the stars, could that same force, whatever it is, physical, cosmological, or something we don't have a name for yet, also be capable of erasing entire regions of galaxies, not just individual planets? It's not an official scientific theory, more a chilling thought experiment that surfaces in late-night academic discussions, but it raises an uncomfortable question. We assume voids like Boötes are simply areas where matter never clumped together in the first place. But what if some of them are places where it did, and something wiped the slate clean? We have no confirmed mechanism capable of destroying galaxies on that scale, no observed weapon, no known process that erases matter that thoroughly across such enormous distances. And that's exactly the problem. The absence of an explanation isn't proof that nothing happened. It's simply proof that if something did happen, it happened at a scale and by a method completely outside our current understanding of physics. Most cosmologists will tell you, correctly, that this idea isn't supported by evidence. But ask them privately if the universe is entirely explained yet, and even the most confident scientist alive will admit, quietly, that we've mapped less than 5% of everything that's actually out there in the dark. On April 29, 2020, the Breakthrough Listen project, the largest and most well-funded alien hunting program in human history, picked up a signal from the direction of Proxima Centauri, the closest star to our own sun, roughly 4 light-years away. It was a narrowband radio signal at a very specific frequency, drifting in a way that matched exactly what you'd expect from a transmitter on a moving planet, not from any known natural cosmic source. Researchers gave it the label BLC-1, and for months, it was treated with total secrecy while scientists quietly tried to rule out every possible earthly explanation. It checked almost every box astronomers used to filter out human interference. It didn't show up in any known database of satellite transmissions. It appeared only when the telescope was pointed directly at Proxima Centauri, and vanished completely when the telescope was pointed elsewhere. Exactly the test rail scientists used to separate genuine cosmic signals from local radio noise. For a brief window, several senior researchers on the project genuinely believed they might be looking at the most significant discovery in the history of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Eventually, further analysis linked the signal's precise frequency drift to interference generated by human electronics here on Earth, likely equipment operating nearby the telescope itself. Case closed, officially, but multiple scientists involved in that investigation have since admitted on the record that it was the closest any of them had ever come to believing, even for a moment, that the silence had finally broken. For decades, the entire search for alien life assumed we'd hear a message, a deliberate greeting, a hello beamed across the stars on purpose. A growing number of scientists now believe that's the wrong strategy entirely, and a genuinely darker one has taken its place, called Dysonian SETI. Instead of listening for messages, scientists search for evidence, physical proof of engineering, leftover structures, the cosmic equivalent of finding ruins instead of waiting for a letter. Think of it less like waiting by a phone that never rings, and more like walking through the desert looking for pottery shards, foundations, and bones. Under this theory, we shouldn't expect advanced civilizations to be actively broadcasting at all, because if the dark forest theory holds any truth, going quiet is exactly what a species does right before it either dies or matures. What we should be looking for instead are the fingerprints they left behind without meaning to, unusual heat signatures from stars that shouldn't be radiating that way, strange orbital patterns around distant planets that suggest artificial megastructures, or unexplained gaps in matter where something was clearly harvested and never replaced. This shift matters because it means the story of alien life may not be a story about first contact at all. It might be a story about forensics, about a species finally advanced enough to search the galaxy, only to realize every civilization we're capable of finding evidence for has already been gone for millions of years before we even developed the tools to notice the wreckage they left scattered across the dark. In 2019, humanity did something that had never been done before in the entire history of our species. We took a photograph of the edge of a black hole. The image, captured by the Event Horizon Telescope, showed a glowing, fiery ring of superheated gas wrapped around an absolute void, the supermassive black hole at the center of a galaxy called an 87. It instantly reminded people around the world of one specific image, a giant, unblinking, fire-rimmed eye, staring outward from complete and total darkness, the exact kind of imagery ancient myths and modern fiction alike have used for centuries to represent a force that watches everything and judges everyone. An eye you cannot hide from, no matter how far you run. Here's where the myth and the physics collide in a way that should genuinely unsettle you. Supermassive black holes, like the one at the center of our own galaxy, called Sagittarius A*, don't just sit quietly. Their gravity is strong enough to warp the path of light itself, meaning light from stars behind them bends around the black hole's edge, effectively letting it see in every direction simultaneously, gathering and distorting information from across enormous stretches of space and time. Nothing physically escapes a black hole's gravity once it crosses that boundary. Not light, not matter, not information of any kind, ever again. Ancient storytellers imagined an eye that watched everything and forgot nothing. Modern astrophysics quietly built the same monster out of pure gravity, sitting at the exact center of our galaxy, patiently waiting, exactly where every single star in the Milky Way is slowly, silently orbiting toward it. Every human being alive today carries an instinctive, irrational fear of the dark, and evolutionary psychologists believe it isn't random at all, it's inherited. For roughly 200,000 years, early humans lived in a world where nightfall genuinely meant danger. Predators with better night vision, rival tribes, unseen threats hiding just beyond the firelight. The individuals who felt uneasy in the dark, who stayed alert, who avoided wandering into black, unfamiliar territory, were statistically more likely to survive long enough to pass that same nervous instinct down to their children. Over hundreds of thousands of years and countless generations, that fear became hardwired directly into our amygdala, the small, almond-shaped part of the brain responsible for processing fear and threat detection, long before conscious thought ever gets involved. This is why a small child, who has never once been told a scary story or watched a horror movie, will still instinctively cry when a room goes completely dark. Nobody taught them that fear. Their ancestors survived it and encoded the warning directly into their biology. Now stretch that same fear outward, to the largest, darkest, most silent room any human has ever stared into, the night sky itself. Some researchers genuinely wonder if part of humanity's deep, collective unease about staring too long into deep space, the reason cosmic horror resonates so powerfully across every culture on Earth, isn't philosophical at all. It might simply be ancient, inherited survival code, quietly screaming at us that something out there, once again, might be looking back. Let's play out the single most likely scenario for actual first contact, based purely on physics, distance, and time. If humanity ever detects a genuine, confirmed signal from an intelligent civilization, it almost certainly won't come from a nearby star. The math of radio signal strength and cosmic distance means the most detectable civilizations are usually the loudest, most technologically advanced ones, and advanced civilizations tend to exist much further away, simply because intelligent life needs billions of years to evolve, and older regions of the galaxy have had more time to produce them. That means any signal we finally receive will likely have traveled hundreds, possibly thousands of years, before it ever reaches our antennas. Here's the part almost nobody considers. Civilizations rise and fall. Technology advances, and it also collapses through war, resource exhaustion, artificial intelligence gone wrong, or simple extinction. If we receive a message from a civilization 1,000 light-years away, we're not hearing what they're saying right now. We're hearing an echo of who they were 1,000 years ago, and there's a very real, mathematically supported possibility that whoever sent it no longer exists at all by the time we finally hear it. Which means the most likely first message humanity ever receives from another intelligent species in the universe might not be a greeting, an invitation, or a warning meant for us specifically. It might be the very last transmission of a species already gone, a goodbye broadcast into the void by people who died long before we were even born to hear it. Here's a genuinely uncomfortable thought experiment, one that flips the entire narrative of this video completely upside down. What if the silence isn't a tragedy at all? What if it's mercy? If the dark forest theory holds any real weight, and the galaxy truly is full of hidden, silent civilizations, all terrified of revealing themselves to something stronger, then the empty, quiet universe we observe every single night isn't evidence of death. It's evidence of survival. Every civilization smart enough to stay hidden is a civilization still alive, still breathing, still safely tucked away from whatever predators might be listening from the dark. Under this version of events, humanity's biggest mistake wasn't staying too quiet. It's that we've already been too loud, for almost a century, without fully understanding the rules of the game. We accidentally joined the moment our first radio broadcasts leaked into deep space. If that's true, then the terrifying silence surrounding Earth right now the total lack of any confirmed contact, any confirmed answer, any confirmed acknowledgement that we exist at all, might genuinely be the best possible outcome available to us. Could mean nothing dangerous has noticed us yet. It could mean we're still small enough, still quiet enough, still forgettable enough to slip through the dark unnoticed for a little while longer. In a universe built on hidden predators, being completely alone, completely unheard, completely ignored, might be the single safest place a young, fragile species like ours could possibly exist. Even if nothing out there is actively hunting us, the universe itself is still a prison, and the walls are made out of physics we cannot break. The speed of light isn't just a suggestion. It's an absolute, hard limit on how fast information, matter, or communication can travel anywhere in existence. At that speed, the fastest possible speed physically allowed in our universe, it would still take over 4 years just to reach the nearest star system to our own, and over 100,000 years to cross our galaxy alone. Making things dramatically worse, the universe isn't just big, it's actively expanding, and that expansion is accelerating. Distant galaxies aren't just far away, they're moving further away from us every single second, some of them already receding faster than the speed of light itself, due to the expansion of space rather than actual motion through it. This means there are already galaxies out there that we will never, under any circumstances, ever be able to reach, observe directly, or communicate with, no matter how advanced our technology eventually becomes, because their light will never physically arrive here, and our light will never physically reach them. Even a civilization 1,000,000 years more advanced than us, with unimaginable engineering and unlimited resources, is still trapped by the exact same fundamental laws. There is no loophole, no shortcut, no future technology capable of breaking this rule. We are not simply isolated by distance. We are permanently, mathematically sealed inside our own tiny, shrinking corner of a universe that is actively pulling away from us, forever. Every single night, whether you know it or not, your body is being touched by the ghost of the beginning of everything. In 1965, 2 radio astronomers named Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson were trying to build an extremely sensitive antenna when they picked up a strange, faint hiss of background noise that simply would not go away, no matter what direction they pointed the equipment, no matter how thoroughly they cleaned pigeon droppings out of the antenna itself. What they'd accidentally discovered was the cosmic microwave background, often called the afterglow of the Big Bang, the actual leftover light and heat from the birth of the universe itself, roughly 13.8 billion years ago, stretched out and cooled down over billions of years until it became a faint, uniform microwave hiss filling every single direction of space equally. Here's the part that should genuinely change how you look at the night sky. That static isn't just a scientific curiosity locked inside a laboratory somewhere. A small percentage of the random static you've seen on an old, unplugged analog television is that exact same ancient radiation, hitting the antenna directly, converting into visible noise on your screen. In a very literal, measurable, scientifically confirmed way, you have personally witnessed light that has been traveling since almost the very beginning of time itself, ancient beyond human comprehension, arriving silently and constantly in your own living room. It's not a metaphor. It's not poetic exaggeration. It's the oldest ghost in existence, and it has been quietly speaking to every human being who has ever lived. There's a piece of footage that keeps circulating quietly online, grainy, unverified, allegedly leaked from a private research facility, showing a wide-angle view of Earth from high orbit. In the footage, something enormous, dark, and completely silent drifts slowly across the frame, briefly eclipsing a portion of the planet before the recording abruptly cuts to static. Nobody can verify where it came from. No agency has claimed it. No scientist has confirmed it. And that's exactly the problem with living in the era we live in now, an era with more cameras pointed at the sky than at any point in human history, and more grainy, unverifiable footage circulating than we could ever hope to properly investigate. Whether that specific clip is real, faked, misidentified debris, or a deliberate hoax barely matters anymore. because it represents something genuinely true about where we currently stand as a species. We have officially reached a point where ordinary people are capturing strange things on camera faster than science can formally explain them, creating an ever-growing backlog of unexplained footage sitting quietly in government archives, private servers, and forgotten hard drives around the world. Somewhere in that pile, statistically, mathematically, almost certainly, there is at least one piece of footage capturing something genuinely unexplained, sitting completely unnoticed between 1,000 other pieces of footage capturing nothing at all. We may have already recorded the proof we've been desperately searching for this entire time. We just haven't found which file it's hiding in yet. Here's how this story actually ends, and it isn't with an explosion, an invasion, or a dramatic first contact. It ends in silence, the same silence we started with, except now you understand exactly what that silence actually means. Trillions of years from now, long after the last star has burned out, long after the last black hole has slowly evaporated into nothing through Hawking radiation, the universe will finally reach true heat death, a state of complete, permanent stillness, with no more energy, no more motion, no more light, and absolutely no observers left anywhere to witness the ending. Every civilization that ever rose, whether they died to war, to artificial intelligence, to a predator hiding in the dark forest, or simply to time itself, all end up in exactly the same place eventually. Total silence, total darkness, total stillness, forever. If the wow signal really was intelligent, whoever sent it is almost certainly gone by now. If Tabby's star really was an unfinished megastructure, whoever was building it never got to finish. And if the Boötes void really does contain the wreckage of something we don't yet understand, it's been sitting there for hundreds of millions of years already, waiting patiently for someone to notice. The Great Silence isn't a mystery waiting to be solved somewhere in our future. It's the default setting of the entire universe, the thing everything eventually returns to, no matter how bright it manages to burn along the way. We are the flicker, not the flame. And somewhere out there, in the cold and the dark, the graveyard is still quietly making room for us too.